Alright, YouTube, it is Gennady Golovkin fight week. I'm going to be making probably like 2 videos a day leading up to fight night, maybe after, whatever happens. We don't know what's going to happen. I think I know what might happen, but anything can happen, right? So look, let me kick it off here. I want you guys to understand something, right? I am still a Gennady Golovkin fan, a Triple G fan. Definitely support him because I think he's great for boxing, right? I think what he's done for boxing has been great, and his legacy will carry on to prove that, right? But nowadays, it's more like tough love, okay? It's more like tough love. Like, I'm tired of babying Gennady Golovkin, you know what I mean? And I'm guilty of it. I'm tired of treating him like a baby. I'm tired of being afraid to say how I really feel about, different fights or different situations. So, so if you've noticed kind of a shift in the channel, in the demeanor, the behavior, the commentary, the commentating, whatever, well, now you know why, and of course, no one is perfect. He's made his fair share of mistakes like the rest of us, but that's really not what today's video is about, right? But I do want to say there's no more protecting one fighter, wrongfully criticizing another. I'm just going to be completely honest from here on out. And, I think I've been very honest up until this point, but I have played a little bit of favorites when it comes to Gennady Golovkin. So, I don't know. So I'm just going to be honest as I can be. So a lot of people are asking me, like, if I, if I still, support Golovkin. I'm like, well, yeah, of course I do, I'm just kind of tired of defending him, like I said, every step of the way, and, so like I said, it's going to be a little different from now on. And regardless of any of that, he's one of my all-time favorite fighters, and that'll never change. But you must admit, he's definitely changed for better, for worse. I mean, that's really up for you to decide. So that's another video, another debate within itself. So, anyway, moving on. Right, I was watching the Roy Jones-Bernard Hopkins fight the other night. Okay, I talked about this in one of my videos. I had to delete technical problems, and it was Roy Jones and Bernard Hopkins, and Roy Jones was like 40, maybe 41, I think, in that fight. Jim Lampley said his age. He's like 40 or 41. But you could tell he was a completely different fighter, right? And it got me thinking about Gennady Golovkin's age. And, and then I saw in a recent interview where Golovkin was looking old. I mean, he's looking really old. He had the gray hair and everything. Like I said, my next video, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Golovkin's age and how much he has definitely changed in the ring. So that's why he's adopting, adopting whatever, this new style. There's a reason for what he's doing. So, and he needs to pick legacy fights from this point forward, right? Because at this point in his career, there's still more for him to prove because, he's been avoided, he's been shelved, he's been, we all know the history of Golovkin. So, it's got to be about legacy and meaningful fights. So the question is Sergi Derevyanchenko a meaningful fight? Is it a legacy fight, right? Normally I would say no, because you guys know I'm not a big fan of Sergi at all. At all. But there is a belt on the line. So because the belt, you got the IBO and the IBF. Of course, the IBF being the important belt, but also now they added the IBO. So yeah, I would say it's a meaningful, important fight, and I'm cool with it because it's a title fight. So of course, yes, if there wasn't a belt, you'd be listening to a different video. So, I don't know. So why are we watching Gennady Golovkin, right? Why are we watching tonight? We're not watching to see if he can win, in my opinion. A lot of you, I think, are like me. We're watching to see how he wins and what happens next, because we want to see it's always about what is next, right? And that's what we're watching because we want big, meaningful fights. The best fighting the best. So, look, even if you're a Gennady Golovkin fan like myself, I'm watching because I want to see where do we go from here, right? It's almost like a pilot for a new series on TV, right? Well, the new Gennady Golovkin, what happens next? So that's why I'm watching. So, and I also want to see, how does he look, against Derevyanchenko, right? We can kind of use that as a measuring stick to see, what's going to happen for the rest of his career, really. I think Saturday night's going to tell a lot, and what is Sergi Derevyanchenko capable of doing against Gennady Golovkin, right? So we're going to see that. That's why I'm watching. So, I think it'll definitely answer a few questions. Is he getting old? Is he washed up? Did his boxing style really change? Has he learned anything under Jonathan Banks' new coach? Although Jonathan Banks is apparently out in the media talking a little garbage about Gennady Golovkin. I thought it was clickbait, but it's not. You got Jonathan Banks like talking a little bit of trash about Gennady Golovkin. I'm like, whoa, hold up! I couldn't believe it. I clicked on it. I'm like, man, it's got to be clickbait, and that'll be one of my upcoming videos. So. And look, to be honest, right, it's not the greatest fight in the world, but again, it's a title fight, so I can't hate on it. I can't do it. So again, I'm going to be fair and honest, but it's a step in the right direction. It's not Steve Rolls, thank God, another guy like that, because I'm tired of hearing, Golovkin's a cherry picker. He's the bum slayer. I mean, you go watch any video. I just watched the video, Seconds Out, shout out Radio Raheem, and the whole comment section is full of oh, he's a bum, cherry pickers and little cherry emojis and all. It's crazy. So, I mean, I don't understand how, it's a title fight. Right? I don't understand how Sergi Derevyanchenko has had so many opportunities to get the IBF, against Daniel Jacobs. Then Canelo gets it. He beats Jacobs. Canelo, he gets, stripped of the belt. And then here we are. So it's like his second shot within a year. I mean, that's kind of unheard of, to be honest. So, but yeah, I mean, look, but I'm excited. Anytime Golovkin fights, I'm excited. So, and, as far as Golovkin focusing on the business, right? The business. So, I don't want Golovkin to get tunnel vision, right? And focus on the trilogy and the business. So I guess I'm happy that he is moving forward. It does seem like that he's kind of closed one door and opening another. But is it an act? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And here's the thing too. A lot of Golovkin haters will say, well, it's easy to play the victim card. Gennady Golovkin, he can play the victim, and that's why he's fighting lower level guys, because we know the trilogy should have happened, right? And this is another thing I'm hearing all over social media, that well, you knew that the trilogy, or there was a possibility that it's not going to happen, so you should have had a plan B. And you can't just play the victim in every fight and go fight a bum. I mean, it's kind of a valid argument, because if you're Gennady Golovkin's team, you should always have a plan B. I mean, always have a plan B. It's always, the trilogy fell through, therefore, Golovkin's forced to fight a lower level guy, he's a victim. And that's what I keep hearing, all over social media. And even a lot of, hardcore Golovkin fans are talking about that. So, I don't know. So anyway, moving on to the actual fight. Like I said, most of you probably know how I feel about Sergi Derevyanchenko. I think he's lucky. I mean, this dude has hit the damn lottery, So, I'm going to be looking at the fundamentals. I want to see, what does Golovkin look like? I'm going to be, his breathing is something I have a big problem with. The stamina, the breathing, just how does he look, And that's what I'm going to be. That's why I'm watching, like I said, it's more of a Q&A for me. I've got questions. The fight's got answers. So that's why I'm tuning in. What about you? So, and if it goes 12 rounds, I think that will raise a lot of questions about Golovkin's future as well, because he really needs a knockout, rather. I said a lockout, a knockout, right? And like I said earlier, everything from this point forward must be quality legacy fights. It's got to be. I mean, we cannot have it. There is no excuse at all for any. It's got to be meaningful from here on out. No excuse for any crap garbage fight. It's got to be meaningful. So, Gennady Golovkin, what is he worth? $100 million, right? He doesn't need to focus on business. He needs to focus on legacy. And here's the thing. I know people, I've heard people from Golovkin's team, Tom Lawfer, I know they've heard some of my videos. Maybe this one will reach them. So if you're listening out there, we get it. Golovkin's filthy rich, right? Does $100 million. The dude's made so much money. And honestly, I'm tired of hearing about the business end. I mean, look, this isn't like a, Wall Street Journal here, right? I don't care about how much money the dude has. I care about legacy. I care about boxing. So it's like every video I watch, it's like money, 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 money. So, that's where I'm getting a little irritated with the whole thing, but I guess that's boxing nowadays. So anyway, going back to what I said earlier, about people accusing Gennady Golovkin of playing the victim card and being forced into fighting lesser opponents. I truly believe that, but like I said, I also think they need a plan B in every situation, right? I mean, look, this is a multi-million, trillion, or billion-dollar business. You can't just take the word of Oscar De La Hoya or Canelo or even DAZN, right? If you don't have a signed contract from both fighters, and apparently they didn't, from what I understand. There was something in Golovkin's contract about a Canelo trilogy, but it didn't say exactly who, what, when, where, why, and how. It just said that they were going to get him a Canelo fight, but it can be in 2020, 2021, 2022. It didn't. I don't think it was a guarantee for September. I think that was what they call a soft date in the boxing, political world, or in negotiations. It was a soft date. Was September, I want to say 14th of 2019, which just passed a couple of weeks ago. So, but yeah, I mean, look, going back to the fight, and the video today is just kind of some overall random thoughts and things I wanted to get off my chest. And, I mean, mainly it's that. It's really, who is Gennady Golovkin, right? I mean, I'm just having a hard time with it, I mean, he's with Abel Sanchez, Tom Laughlin, he had the whole team. He's this great guy, and it's all about legacy, belts, and we love him, the people's champion. And now, like I said, every time we see Gennady Golovkin, it's about money and business, and he's fighting like Steve Rolls and Vanez Martirosyan, but we can always blame Canelo. But when can we stop blaming Canelo? That is, look, I mean, that's the hard question as a Golovkin fan I had to ask myself, like, okay, when do we stop blaming Canelo, right? Because again, when you're running a multi-million-dollar business, I mean, eventually you got to be smart enough to know you're going to need a plan B, C, D, and who knows, and maybe ED or whatever. Like, you need a backup plan. You can't just take the word of Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotion, or even DAZN. So that's where I take issue. That's where I have a problem with this whole situation, right? So, but again, I'm glad we have a meaningful, I would say, legacy fight, because, we do have a belt on the line. And then, but where does this put Golovkin? When you look at the middleweight division, I mean, you have one guy over here on PBC, you got Charlo over here, you got Billy Joe Saunders. I think that's a likely fight. And now Golovkin, he's even talked about that, because in the past, he wouldn't even mention Billy Joe Saunders. Well, back when he had the WBO, he would, but after he lost that WBO, he wouldn't even mention him. And what a disgrace that Billy Joe Saunders is on the undercard to, what is this guy's, I can't even think of the guy's name, Luke Paul or Paul Jake Paul, what the hell ever. Like, what a disgrace. But anyway, we'll in fact, I want to talk about that because Eddie Hearn had a good point about it. But I mean, come on, Billy Joe Saunders on the undercard? Like, is that true? I heard it like a week ago. Hopefully that's not true. But anyway, now, but of course, now Golovkin, he's saying, yes, of course I'll fight Billy Joe Saunders, blah, 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 blah. And I think Triple G teaming up with Eddie Hearn was probably one of the best things he'll ever do in his career, other than signing with DAZN. I think DAZN was a great move, and I think Eddie Hearn will guide him along the way and get him, in big, meaningful fights and legacy fights. And I've heard Eddie Hearn talk about, Golovkin needs legacy fights. He needs important fights, and no more easy paydays. So that, so look, that's the thing. I mean, it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder and harder for me to defend Gennady Golovkin. But finally, at least this fight, I can defend it, right? I mean, it's borderline. I'm going to be honest. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for making that comment. It's borderline because not a big Sergi Derevyanchenko. What does he do? Like 13-1, I mean, he beat Kolkay or what the hell ever his name is. Lost to Daniel Jacobs. I mean, other than that, what has the guy done? So... it's hard. Look, if I'm Golovkin's attorney, if I'm his lawyer, it's hard to defend, but my defense is there's a belt on the line. So there you go. And it's vacant. So I guess it would be a little more meaningful if it was a title defense, right? Like Dominic Wade was, because that was easy to defend. Whatever, you got a mandatory, you got to defend your title. I get it, but it's a vacant belt, so it's a little harder to defend, but it is defendable. So there we go. If that makes any kind of, I know I'm not making any sense tonight, but so yeah, there we have it. a few random thoughts I wanted to throw out there about the fight. It's a must win for Golovkin. If he loses, game over. Game over. He cannot lose the fight. He can't. He can't even look bad in the fight. If he even looks bad, I mean, that's it. I mean, you could probably kiss the trilogy goodbye, or who knows, maybe that would bait Canelo in. I mean, probably it would do the exact opposite. I mean, Canelo could spin it either way. He could say, no, you know, oh, he looked like crap, so, I mean, why do I want to fight the guy? He's already talking about that. He's already saying, like, you know, what does Golovkin have? I beat him twice, which he lost twice, but whatever. You know, Canelo's saying, I beat him twice. He doesn't have a belt. You know, all he cares about is money. And, you know, this is coming from Canelo, so it's pretty bad when you got a guy like Canelo, you know, that's cherry-picked his way through his entire career, you know, a handcrafted, tailor-made career, catch weights, you know, PED, you know everything about Canelo. I'm not going to go through the whole resume. Go listen to any one of my 200 videos if you want to know how I feel about it. But I'm saying it's pretty bad when Canelo is basically saying, nah, you know, I don't want nothing to do with the dude. You know, so I really do think that Golovkin needs to, you know, I don't know, he needs to, I guess sharpen his image. I mean, his public image. How do you say it? Like, you know, his public image needs to improve, because from what I see, and a lot of, you know, Golovkin fans that I talk to, like I said, you know, we need meaningful legacy fights, and we're tired of hearing about how rich you are and how much money you have, and we're tired of, you know, like, so, you know, this isn't, you know, Counterpunch, Wall Street Journal, or what the hell ever. You know, it's not the stock market. I don't care, you know, how much money. It's not Fortune magazine. It's boxing. I want to hear about boxing. So that's one thing that I truly wish would change. So I don't know, guys. I'm babbling. I am excited for the fight. I don't mean to sound negative, but again, you know, I'm just being honest from this point forward when it comes to Golovkin. So do you consider it a legacy fight? Do you consider this a meaningful fight? I mean, do you agree with me about, you know, the change in Golovkin? Is it for better or worse? I mean, you tell me.